Damon, people are saying that we've been avoiding talking football in lieu of, just talking basketball. Do you think that we should do a whole football show?
Let's do it. Let's talk football all goddamn day today, Kevin. Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm Damon Fairall. That is Kevin Thomas, and we are in downtown Phoenix, getting ready to make the move to HQ3 really soon here, Kevin. Just checked it out this morning, and guys, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. This move is going to be great for PHNX Sports. It's going to be great for this AZ Wildcats podcast. But that's not what we're here to talk about today, Kevin. We are here to talk about Arizona football, as we said in the cold open. And we're going to do it all day today on this show, giving you all the news and notes and just the narratives that are building out of Arizona football camp. But first off, Kevin, how are we doing? How is your Monday morning / early afternoon going? And how was your weekend, sir?
Weekend was good. Got some stuff around the house done. Working on the home office, hanging some floating shelves. You know what I mean? It is special. As a guy that hates construction, it was really special to get that done all seamlessly.
I also, can I just ask the question, and I know I say this to you sometimes, but like, how much we paying you, brother?
Not enough.
Your own home studio?
Look, man.
My goodness.
You make do with what you have.
Guy has rooms in his house that he has for particular activities.
That's a fact. Specialized rooms for a specialized man. You know what I mean? But no, yeah. What I was gonna say is rolling into the Monday, the production meeting this morning at the new place. It is beautiful, as Damon alluded to. It is going to be great for this specific podcast as well, because we're gonna be getting a little bit of an upgraded look, a little bit of upgraded feel, new vibes, new season, new feel for the AZ Wildcats podcast. You know what I mean? And yeah, very excited for the new space. We're going to have I think an octagon in there to spar is what I was trying to talk to Shane about, maybe.
Yeah, you were, and then I was pitching hot tub.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that idea was going necessarily, but it was Shark Tank style. I was standing right, and I was like, how does everyone feel about maybe a jacuzzi situation in the extra office that no one will be occupying? So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But
Noah and Erickson said they wanted like a running track throughout the office, so we could do like races, figure out who's the fastest in the office, all that. I don't know. It could be anything. It's like a sandbox.
It is. Yeah, it really is our own personal Play-Doh. We can shape and mold it to however we feel. It's going to be beautiful. But yeah, as Edgar says here, new year, new me, says Arizona football. And that's what we're going to be talking about all day today, because Kevin, it seems like maybe a little bit of momentum is building around the program a little bit, and we'll get into that later in the show as we discuss, a national publication in their particular full FBS rankings and where Arizona might have fallen in that. And spoiler alert, it's probably higher than you think. But first, we should probably talk about the things that have been going on in and around fall camp. And there's been some position battles forming, and of course, getting a lot of this information from our guy Justin Spears, who always does great work at Tucson.com, Arizona Daily Star, and with us on this fine podcast.
Shout out.
And on Spears and Ali every weekday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. But Spears has been doing his fall camp notes that are so informative and really make you feel like you're just standing right there at practice with them. And in some prevailing position battles, I think that have at least caught my eye a little bit, and we could start here, Kevin, is let's start with the cornerback room, because it feels like there's a real open competition here at cornerback, whereas maybe like at safety, you kind of know who the starters are going to be. You look at it on paper, like we know Genesis Smith is going to start. We know Dalton Johnson is going to start. Traden Stukes is, while he's technically kind of a corner, he probably is going to start in that nickel kind of inside slot cornerback role. And that leaves more of the boundary corners to, be decided as to, what who's going to be out there and start. And I think Arizona actually has some good options at that spot. It's not really a situation where I necessarily feel like they're, like, I'll give you an example. The Miami Dolphins don't have set starters at cornerback because they have no options at cornerback. I don't feel that way about the Arizona Wildcats. I feel like that they have about 4 starter caliber guys, and it's all to, different degrees. Now, I'm not saying that these guys are all star players or that, that the Legion of Boom is back there, but guys that I think could start and play good football for you in big snaps. And those 4 guys are Aiden Garnes, Michael Dansby, Javion Cole, and Groves Killebrew, who of course we are familiar with from last season. So it's a full group. And like I said, I think Traden Stukes starts no matter what, right? I know Aiden Garnes has mostly played slot corner in his time at West Virginia, and I forget his previous stop before that, but he's been a slot cornerback guy. So, maybe you have him play slot corner and you have Stukes play outside. If it comes to that, I guess that's a possibility. But I'm envisioning a world where Traden Stukes starts on the inside and that these 2 spots for outside cornerback are going to be decided between these 4 players.
Yeah, and I mean, you have it in here, and Spears had it in his his notes as well about Javion Cole being one of the most impressive defensive backs that he's seen in the fall camp thus far, right? And you asked me the question of, is this surprising at all to you? Do you think that, this is something that you would have, if I asked you a month ago, you would have had? And I think, I don't know if exactly what I would have said a month ago, but I do feel like Javion Cole being one of the most impressive DBs that Arizona has to offer is not shocking, right? We've alluded to, and Spears, I think, has used this exact phrase multiple times, just because you ain't Texas good does not mean you're not Arizona great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that the experience that he has playing, being around big programs, being around big games, I think is going to help Arizona represent themselves better in the defensive back area this year than they did last year. And also, we kind of know in terms of the defensive back depth, you alluded to the Miami Dolphins analogy there of being set because you don't have options, right? As opposed to being not as set because you don't really know who is going to be the best guy on any one given day.
Yeah.
This is not really unique to Arizona's defensive back room, right? We're hearing quotes from Josh Oglesby, Bobby Wade for their individual position groups, right? You have multiple rooms on this Arizona football roster that any given Saturday, the number 1 guy could end up being the number 3 guy. And it's not because he's not good enough to be a number 1 guy. It's because there's just depth at those positions. And, you take the DB room, for example, right? Aiden Garnes, Michael Dansby might be the best corners on, let's say, game 1 against Hawaii. But by time K-State rolls around, you might not know. Javion Cole might star. He might completely star in that game. So I'm encouraged by the amount of options Arizona has this year in the defensive back side of things. Even if an Aiden Garnes doesn't work out maybe the way that he looks like he's going to early on, you still have other options to go to. You're not stuck on any one given plan. And I think overall, I think that could be said as a theme of this 2025 Arizona roster in general, right? The ability to be pliable this year as opposed to last year where if you lose a JCM or if, a couple linebackers go down, which this is football, so it's potential that happens every year. It's potential, right?
Now
so
Justin Flo's playing linebacker.
Dalton Johnson's coming down. You have so many more options this year if things do go left, right, for your program that you can actually try to right the ship halfway through. If, like I said, if things were going to go wrong last year, you did not have that option. You had plan A or what we got last season, right? So I'm encouraged by the depth specifically of the DB room, but overall, I think the position group depth has improved tenfold.
And I think having experienced safeties who are, kind of the better players on the team could help those guys a lot get more settled, right? Because you just have, it's going to be a lot more fluid in the secondary, especially your safeties who are oftentimes the big communicators on your defense are your better, more experienced players. So, I mean, that just seems like that's obvious, but it's so far, according to Spears, Aiden Garnes, Michael Dansby have kind of been the starters, if you will, but it doesn't seem like that's, really set in stone whatsoever. Javion Cole has been getting a ton of reps, as has MGK as well. And, he has a leg up, obviously, having been in the program already. And Javion Cole probably has the biggest name out of this group. Like he was at San Jose State, at least. There's a reason he went to Texas, right? It's because he was elite at San Jose State in the Mountain West, and so Texas took a chance on him, and he wasn't a starter. But to your earlier analogy, you could be Arizona great and not Texas good necessarily. But yeah, I mean, are you surprised at all by this development in the cornerback room, Kevin? Like, I did you envision maybe a more, maybe I don't want to say like put in Sharpie or put in pen, but like a kind of wrote in pencil starting lineup? Like, essentially, did you think Javion Cole would for sure be a starter in this cornerback room at this point?
I'm trying to think back to the podcast we did, one of our first podcasts since you and I started, co-hosting this situation here. We did like a tier rating of all the new additions to Arizona football. And I think when we were talking about Javion Cole, I'd have to go back and look at it. I'm pretty sure I had the mindset of he could come in and start, or he could come in and you could see exactly why he didn't get the reps in at Texas, right? That you thought maybe he will get at Arizona.
Yeah.
But as time has passed, as you and I have spent more time around this program, the coaches and the players as well, I'm not really surprised by this, right? And it's kind of like the point I just alluded to of I'm seeing in the defensive back room a manifestation of the mindset that the staff has had while building the whole roster as a group, right? I think that bringing in guys like Javion Cole, guys that have experience elsewhere, guys that have played in big games. You talked to Seth Dagey about the backup quarterback position and how important just having guys that have been there before is, like how important their voice is in that room. And I think even if Javion Cole is not the best corner in that room, his experience is extremely valuable and can really help Arizona's corners level up as they go along the season, right? So,
lifts all tides.
Yes, exactly. And so, yeah, while maybe, I don't know, maybe I expected Michael Dansby and Javion Cole maybe to be swapped. I don't really remember what my mindset was, but I'm not feeling surprised by this today, is what I'm trying to tell you. I might have been surprised by it 2 months ago, but today I am not surprised.
Yeah. I think that's a fair encapsulation of it. And in just I referenced kind of the starting defensive backs and the starting cornerbacks in particular, when they were doing team drills with Aiden Garnes and Michael Dansby kind of running out there as the CB1 and CB2. But the rest of the defense goes as this: Trey Smith at defensive end, with Tia Savea, and Cerrito's college transfer Leroy Palu getting some early looks here. I believe he might have even been one of the guys that, and maybe we'll ask Justin for clarification on this later this week, but he might have been one of the guys who was struggling with some grade stuff to make it out here in time, because I know there was a few junior college players in particular that were struggling with that. But one of the handful of D linemen that Big Joe Salvea has brought in to this room since he's taken over as the defensive line coach. Then you have Chase Kennedy, Max Harris, and Tay Brown as your linebackers, with Chase Kennedy kind of being a little bit more of a stand-up rusher, hand in the dirt type of linebacker rather than like a coverage linebacker. Your two off-ball linebackers, probably Max Harris and Tay Brown there. No surprise with Tay Brown. I think Max Harris, that's interesting though. The fact that, and I feel like that's somewhat highlighted by him getting his own stand on Arizona Media Day. Like, I feel like they don't really do that for people that they perceive to be backups necessarily. So I think that makes sense for Max Harris there. And then the second,
sorry, finish. I was gonna say real quick, I just had a clarification on what you were saying about the academic eligibility stuff. I went back through Spears' Twitter, and it says that Brent Brennan says O-lineman Peter Lange, JUCO transfer, and defensive tackles Ezra Funa and Zach Siulepa are still working through the academic obligations.
Gotcha.
So it does not seem like Palu was a part of that group. Just for clarification on that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Jamie, it's what I do best.
And then going into the secondary, Aiden Garnes, Michael Dansby starting corners, as we already said. Dalton Johnson, Genesis Smith as the starting safety is nothing surprising there. And then you have Gavin Hunter as the starting nickel back. I don't think that this is any indication that Gavin Hunter is going to be the starter, because I think Trayden Stukes is the starting nickel back, as we talked about already. But Stukes is still working his way back from his injury. Him and Rhino Tapa'otai, never going to be as good as the first one.
Chasing that dragon, man.
Yeah, and I'll never get it again. I'll never reach happiness again. That was my one moment of happiness in my life. Rhino Tapa'otai, there we go. Was, they're working their way back. They're doing individual drills. They're doing some team stuff with a little bit less contact. But when they go full team drills, full contact, they are not fully worked their way back yet. So Gavin Hunter getting those starting reps right now. Just another player I think that you have to feel pretty good about, if he was needed. Because Trayden Stukes has had some injury problems. Let's be real about it. And Gavin Hunter, another guy who, and I don't want to keep putting too much stock into this because I want to trust this new coaching staff, but it just really feels like, man, that Jed Fish found some and his staff found some good, kind of gems in the rough.
Yes.
And Gavin Hunter, I feel like, could be another one of those players who, from early on, it felt like Gavin Hunter was getting pretty good reviews from a recruiting standpoint. He was, a kind of a mid-level 3-star out of Hawaii. It seems like he was a player that Arizona was very happy that they landed just outside the top 1,000 when he committed to Arizona. And I don't know. I like Gavin Hunter. I like his profile. I think that he could be a good player for this team. And he's not even like the designated starter, but another guy that I think you have to feel comfortable with if he got some starter caliber snaps.
1,000%. You must believe that Trey Stukes, like you alluded to, is going to be that starting nickel, and that he is absolutely itching to get back out on that football field. I know when you and I spoke to him at Media Day, he said that, dying is a great word for it. When I asked him, "Are you just dying to get out there?" He said, "Yes, that is a great word for it." He misses the game a ton, and I think that adding Stukes back into that secondary will really inject a bunch of experience, 2 energy, and high productive play. Right, those are 3 great things that Stukes is going to bring to that defensive back room, and if Gavin Hunter can kind of hold it down, in his role on this team, that will be huge. I know he played sparingly last season. He recorded his first tackle against NAU, and then 2 assisted tackles against ASU in November. He only appeared in 11 games last season, and like I said, made those 3 assisted tackles. So Gavin Hunter, a bit, like you said, under the radar of a player, but if he can be serviceable, that goes a long way towards helping Stukes kind of work back into things and not have to be holding too much weight on his shoulders day one of his return.
2 surprises for me when naming that starting defense, and I think it's more of a factor of these are positions that you rotate so much in and out of that it really doesn't mean much of anything. But no Deshaun McKnight in that starting defense that I just named, despite him kind of being like, it feels like the star of basically whenever a coach talks about the newcomers on this team, it feels like Deshaun McKnight is at the very front of that list. Whether it's Brent Brennan, Joe Salvea, it feels like he's kind of a tone setter for the defense and definitely figures to be kind of the premier interior defensive lineman, I would imagine, on this team. It could be Tia Savea as well, depending on if he could kind of make a leap. But I just feel like Tia Savea is a little bit more of a complimentary piece. And Deshaun McKnight, has been a star in his previous stops, even if they've been at lower levels. And then the other one is Riley Wilson, who, I remember, Danny Gonzalez said he was going to be a household name, right? That was his verbiage. There was also, I think Riley Wilson got his own booth at Media Day. He seems to be one of the emotional leaders of the team for sure, just in my short time talking to him.
The guy got a feature piece done by Justin Spears.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's still in the works or if it's been dropped yet, but I mean, Spears is not making a star out of just anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. You have to earn that.
Yeah,
that's a badge of honor right
yes,
there.
Indeed.
But I think Riley Wilson will probably see a good portion of the snaps as well. And like I said, Kevin, I think Riley Wilson probably goes into that Chase Kennedy role where he's a little bit more of that stand-up edge rusher, kind of off the other side of where Trey Smith is, who has his hand in the dirt. And I think Deshaun McKnight probably starts on the inside there. I think both of those guys, in my opinion, are most likely starters, but it seems like they're just trying to give people a lot of reps right now. I wouldn't read even too much into the Aiden Garnes and the Michael Dansby portion of it. I just think it's interesting because I think you could very well see a starting lineup where it's Javion Cole, Marquise Groves, Killebrew, Deshaun McKnight, and Riley Wilson, and now that starting 11 has 4 different names in it, and it really wasn't much of a starting 11 at all.
Yeah, no, and when you bring up this entire defense as a whole, I did want to ask you a question that Spears had brought to our attention a couple weeks back when we spoke to him about who would be the leading tackler on this year's defense, right?
Yeah.
And Spears kind of doubled down that it would be Tay Brown on multiple occasions, I believe, and we were talking, I don't think that he might lead the team in tackles, but we were talking about how Trey Smith could turn a lot of his quarterback pressures last year into quarterback sacks this year. Who do you think might be the most impressive tackler on next year's team upcoming Damon.
Like who would lead the team in tackles. I think just by nature of the positions that are being played here, you have to say that the off-ball linebackers are probably most likely to get the bulk share of the tackles, right? Because, I mean, just think about it. It makes perfect sense. If you're Chase Kennedy and you're rushing off the edge and, they run the opposite way, you have essentially no chance of making the tackle. Whereas if you're an off-ball linebacker kind of lined up in the middle, no matter the direction, you're plugging the A gap, the C gap, the B gap, whatever you name it, all the letters, and so you're getting it's more fluid. You can move all over the field. I also think that a safety could, like you see Budda Baker lead the Cardinals in tackles every year, and he's not necessarily a good coverage guy, but he's really good when you put him near the line of scrimmage and kind of just let him be in the box. I think Genesis Smith has the talent to do that. So I'd say like outside dark horse shot of Genesis Smith, maybe, if he's kind of in that star role and they have him really close to the line of scrimmage. You know what I mean? Like,
no, totally.
I could see that being a slight possibility, but I do think that Max Harris and Tay Brown probably just make the most sense just given the positions that they play. So just to be different, maybe I'll just say Max Harris. And I'll let everybody, I think it probably will be Tay Brown, but I don't want to just give the same answers as everybody, kind of similar to what we did with our leading receiver discussion. That I actually did want to talk about that for a second, Kevin.
Let's go.
And it feels like Chris Hudson is building some momentum these last couple of practices. He's had some big time grabs, made some big plays. I believe same kind of starting unit as we talked about with Spears, which was, a kind of a revolving three. I mean, it's so fluid. There's so many depth pieces on this receiver unit, but I would say, it looks like Trey Spivey, Chris Hudson, and then Chris Hunter probably are the starters. I know we all said, I believe, different, right? You went Chris Hunter. He went with, Justin went with,
I believe Hudson.
Oh, he went with Chris Hunter too, actually, I believe. Yeah. And then I went with Chris Hudson.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's probably your starters. And, there seemed to be somewhat of a development that Tyler Powell is getting a lot of the starting reps at tight end. I don't know if that's interesting to you at all, Kevin.
Oh, that's very interesting to me.
I know Keon Burnett.
Yes.
They're somewhat different tight ends, right? Like we've talked about, you can play 12 personnel with both of them a lot, where Keon Burnett is more split out in the slot, and then you have Tyler Powell as the inline blocking guy because he is like 6'7", 270 pounds. That might have been a slight exaggeration, but he's a blocking tight end, and so I think that's an interesting group there. I think it's interesting to see Tyler Powell kind of being the maybe a little bit more of the starter. And maybe that goes to show the type of offense that Seth Agee wants to run, that he wants an inline tight end a little bit more than he wants to maybe go like empty spread, like a typical air raid Mike Leach system would show you. But I found that to be a fairly interesting development on the Tyler Powell side of things.
Yeah, and you bring up the receiver room / pass catchers on this team in general, and one name that has kind of been circulating, getting some buzz. And when I say getting buzz, I mean the guy's been getting praised for his hard work and determination in returning from an injury, and maybe potentially getting a couple cracks at playing this year. And that's Gio Richardson, right? The freshman that's coming off of
great feature from our guy Justin Spears on for the Arizona Daily Star on Gio Richardson.
Yes, read it this morning on this one, and it is on my brain still. Right, the freshman that honestly has been playing with, quote, confidence and a lot of swagger, right? And I believe Brent Brennan said he was super tough is a word that he used to describe him as well. And I think when you talk about this wide receiver room and just how deep it is, Sam Alberts in the chat said the wide receiver room depth is crazy earlier, right? And he's right. Sam Albert is right in the sense that you have multiple receivers that all probably feel as though they should be getting a lion's share of the touches.
Yeah.
And because you have so many receivers that, and this is a good thing, are all around the same skill level for the most part, you have a lot of competition. All right? And even a freshman like Gio Richardson, and Brent Brennan has been very open about how if freshmen can play, they're going to play. We're not trying to gatekeep minutes on a team where we're just trying to win damn football games and get my coaching career back on track. right? If you're Brent Brennan, you don't give a damn about seniority. You give a damn about who can play the best football on Saturday. And if Gio Richardson, by the end of the season, can crack that lineup, I think that'd be a really special story.
And Isaiah, you didn't even mention Isaiah Mizell,
who's the fastest guy in the room.
He's the fastest guy in the room. He's the highest rated recruit in Arizona's last class. Top 300 recruit. Like,
great point.
Figures to be a really, really high level player for this program. And I mean, both Gio Richardson and Isaiah Mizell seem to have made some noise in this fall camp and in spring ball, but it just doesn't seem like it feels like this room is just too deep with guys that are more ready to play right away, where maybe they're not going to get to see a ton of reps early on, unless there's injuries, which, knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen.
And while I'm saying this, I would like you to go direct yourself on your mobile phone to Arizona football's Twitter, where they made a post entitled Tunnel Vision there. And
Bob Wade, the receivers coach?
The Bob Wade.
Nice to see you in here, Bob. Love to see new faces here in the chat. Like this video if you haven't done so already, and subscribe to the channel. But you happen to share a similar name to one of the greatest receivers in Arizona football history. Really cool.
But yeah, like I was saying, shout out to Bob Wade, shout out to everybody in the chat. Even you, Knights 23, even you. Tunnel Vision is the title of that post, and I believe it's Trey Spivey that just made an unbelievable catch. Another Moss.
Really?
In practice. And if he can keep just absolutely, I don't know, this is where hossing dudes out there. Is that a word? Is that something I'm allowed to say? Is that a word that means anything to people? He's just big boss and little bro dudes.
I'm watching this right now. Live reaction.
And if he can do that consistently in the season, just goes up, gets it, grabs it, takes it, and hauls it in. The team goes crazy afterwards.
Rhino's going nuts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. And I think that is like a perfect
is this team
encapsulation.
Gonna be good?
That's what I'm saying, dude. It's a perfect encapsulation of what we're talking about right now. Because these wide receivers, we were coming into this fall camp, like back up, rewind back before fall camp. We would have told the people, maybe I'm wrong for speaking you as well, saying we, but I certainly would have told people that Trey Spivey is going to be like a complementary playmaking piece in this receiving core. And hell, he still could be just that, right? But the catches he's making in this fall camp and the catches we're seeing video of, it's going to be hard to keep that type of playmaking on the sideline no matter what type of offense you're running. You need a guy that can make those kind of catches, right? And we're talking about how deep this receiver room is. And Damon, we were talking pre-show about my energy, that catch. I'm back. The tank is full. The tank is full, and we have exited Circle K with a full tank, and we're ready to go. Thanks to Trey Spivey. But yeah, if Arizona's receiving room can continue to show promising flashes up and down the board, we're not even talking about like a guy like Luke Wysong in all of this, who when you bring in Luke Wysong, that was a huge buzz of a transfer for Arizona at the time, a guy who dominated an early season.
The watch list for Arizona as like our representative on this wide receiver, and he's like he's probably second string, which, no disrespect, it's a very deep room with a lot of really, really good football players in it.
Yeah, it's an unbelievably deep room. We haven't even mentioned Devin Hyatt, who has a chance to potentially make a return.
Yeah, so I wanted to say real quick on the Trey Spivey part of things before we move off that, and then I want to get to Devin Hyatt.
Let's do it.
I think with Noah Fafita, and I know we're crazy comparison guys. I want you to walk with me here for a second. But with Noah Fafita, we know he likes to jump ball receiver.
Ooh.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm not saying that Trey Spivey is Hetero and McMillan.
Can we up
but
this
I
walk
am
to a
saying
jog?
that he is playing in the same position.
Of course.
And he is kind of, from what we can see and what they kind of throw to us, as we beg for more content from Arizona football. It seems like Trey Spivey is the contested catch jump ball receiver.
Yeah.
And if he's going to come up with plays like that, that opens up a brand new whole thing for this offense, because I know Braden Locke threw that football too. That was not a Noah Fafita pass like the first Moss was, but you love to see it from Trey Spivey there. And I did want to talk about Devin Hyatt and Brandon Phelps for a second, because I feel like those are the two forgotten names in the receiving room.
Because now I got one more thing on Trey Spivey, because you made me think of something else about how even just like we're talking about his playmaking ability and how it can open up the offense as a whole, right? Remember the clip we saw from Arizona football the other day of Noah Fafita throwing an underneath pass over the middle? If you can take the top off with a guy like Trey Spivey, right? If you can get X amount of percent of what the playmaking ability of the deep threat target you had last year in T-Mac, like you said, you're not going to get a T-Mac, but if you can try to get a tall playmaker out there who can make tough catches and still be athletic, that's going to open up that underneath game and make it even easier for a guy like Noah Fafita to get back on track in 2025, because we know that if he can open up the middle of the field, actually utilize it properly, not have to worry about getting sacked if he even thinks about a slow developing route, right? I'm excited for how the depth of the wide receiver room, epitomized by a guy like Trey Spivey, can open up the game for the other receivers. Hell, Ishmael Mahdi, Wesley Yarbo, Korn, like anybody, it seems like is going to be able to find success in this offense because it is so wide open as a result of you having so much talent in a way, right?
Yeah. Totally with you on that, and that's, I guess that's kind of what we're talking about here with Devin Hyatt and with Brandon Phelps is, those are two guys that I feel like have kind of somewhat gone under the radar in regards to our wide receiver discussion. And I'm talking about me and you, Kevin, but also others. I feel like they kind of have been underrated. I know Justin Spears kind of shouts them out a lot, and that matters because he's probably about as locked in as you could possibly get with this football program. Devin Hyatt supposedly had a really good practice, I want to say on Friday, was kind of the star of the receivers show. He's back from his injury, of course, that was, just a devastating injury against ASU last year. So it looks like Devin Hyatt's going to play a role. It looks like he's going to get some playing time and, again, be a part of this extremely deep wide receiver core. And then Brandon Phelps, I mean, I know Justin Spears shouts him out all the time, and I feel like for that X receiver position that we're talking about right now, like that's kind of where the bigger bodied guys are going. And Trey Spivey, maybe he's the starter, but who else would necessarily play that spot if something was to, God forbid, happen to Trey Spivey or he just needed a rest? I think Chris Hunter can kind of play all over. I think they feel comfortable with him kind of being the leader that can somewhat be ambidextrous of where his position is. But outside of that, like, who would you feel comfortable with, kind of being in that big bodied receiver position? And is it Brandon Phelps? Because I'm trying to think of like who are. Chris Hudson is not a bigger body. Luke Weisson definitely not. Nunu Watley definitely a slot guy. I feel like Brandon Phelps is kind of that bigger receiver that probably is going to spell a backup, and we just haven't really been talking about him very much at all.
Yeah, I think Brandon Phelps, standing at 6'3", bigger frame kind of a guy, I think he could be that. I don't know. It's weird, right? The depth makes it exciting from a standpoint of you don't know who you're going to get a clip of coming out of practice, but you also don't necessarily get to track guys the same way you ordinarily would throughout this fall camp, right? Because there's touches getting spread out so widely and so evenly that I'm not really too confident in saying that I think Brandon Phelps could be that guy because we haven't really seen him get the chance, right? He didn't appear at all last season. We've seen sparse reps from him, I think, so far this much. I know Spears is super big on him, but how much have we been able to even see him in true reps, right? We haven't been able to. So I think off of frame, yes, I would say I'm comfortable with Brandon Phelps being that guy. But if you do put him in there, that I would be a little cautious because we just haven't seen it. And I think that there are higher ceilings on this roster than Brandon Phelps, but maybe I'm wrong, right? Because like I said, we don't really know his floor or his ceiling.
Yeah, 100% with you on that. Kevin, there was one last position battle I wanted to talk about real quick before we hit the break here. And it's kind of the special teams unit as a whole. I have in here the kicking unit. I think the punting situation has become a little bit more clear. It seems as though Arizona's Australian recruit that they've brought in is probably going to be the guy from a punting standpoint. Trying to find his name here. Sorry. Kevin, baton pass.
Baton has been passed. But yeah, no, we spoke to Craig Nivar at Big 12 Media Day, and he spoke to me a lot about. Oh, you're talking about Tyler Prashan, right?
No, that's the kicking.
The kicking battle there.
Yeah, battle.
Okay,
this is Isaac Lovison.
Yes.
Isaac apparently is how you spell or say his name.
Like the striker.
He's kind of a rugby style Australian punter, and it seems like he's kind of taken over. I want to say that battle. I would be surprised if he wasn't the starter. Pinned one inside the 2, I think, on Friday's practice. So, Isaac Lovison, probably the punter, but he's competing with Michael Salgado Medina, who's also competing for the kicking job with Tyler Prassen, who is what you were saying earlier. And apologies if I'm not getting that name correctly. But Tyler Prassen's dad was a kicker at U of A.
Ooh.
And he was committed elsewhere and then decided to walk on at Arizona. And to me, Kevin, honestly, this is one of the biggest concerns I have because I've watched enough bad kicking at Arizona in my life where I'm very scarred by it. And whenever you have Arizona's in a weird spot as a program where it's always either had like stud kickers like Tyler Loop or Nick Folk or Max Indehas or even like Casey Scourin was really good, or it seems like you just have people that are just like it's just unwatchable, and you're sitting there and you're like, this team is genuinely hemorrhaging wins because the kicking unit and the kicking game is that bad. The Rich Rod years had some bad kicking units in particular. I'm a little bit worried. My eyebrows are raised on this kicking battle right now, Kevin. On Thursday's practice, they both went 2 of 4 with Michael Salgado Medina missing from 38 and 37 yards, and Tyler Prassen missing from 37 and 45 yards. Then they both went 3 of 4 on Wednesday's practices with the both misses for them being 47 yards. Those are just field goals that you kind of have to make and have been automatic for Arizona in the last few seasons here. And so, yeah, that has me questioning things, and I don't know, if maybe I'm sounding the alarm bells a little too early, but we're gonna have to talk to Justin Spears about it from what he's seen out there as well. Like, do you think that this is gonna be a problem for this team? Because it's definitely something I have highlighted as potentially being a big issue.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And you mentioned just the Arizona kicking issues in general, but like, it's a thing that you watch football teams, professional, college, across the board. It's painful to watch a team with a bad kicker. It's really painful. And I think going from, and this is a conversation that you and I had last season in Tyler Loop's last year at Arizona about how, man, this last season I'm so thankful for Tyler Loop because you can't get that kind of stability, that type of trust you have with a special teams unit unless you have that elite, consistent level kicker. And Michael Salgado Medina has been impressive at times in the camp from what we've heard from Craig Nyvar, from Justin Spears, but misses from 38 and 37, doesn't really instill a ton of confidence in me in Salgado Medina. And that's not to say he can't turn things around and become a consistent kicker for Arizona and at least be a good kicker for Arizona in 2025. But at this time, like you said, kind of worried about the kicking position at Arizona in 2025 because you're not sure. This is the first time in a while you haven't been sure what you're going to get from that position. And in a year where Arizona really just needs, how do I want to phrase this? You just need all the small stuff to go well. And I'm not saying that kicking and special teams is a small thing because it's actually an incredibly important thing in terms of winning football games. But I think when you're looking at it from what have you needed in recent years, kicking and special teams has never been one of those things. And so I feel like it's just another thing that you need to go well if you're Arizona in 2025, and that makes me nervous. But I think overall, I do think Salgado Medina or Prassen could be a serviceable kicker for Arizona. Now, like I said, if we can't hit from 38 and 37, then
it's not good.
No. But I do think that they can turn this around and at least be serviceable for Arizona in 2025. That's my bar. I don't know if you feel different. Maybe you really, really think that they need to be good in 2025, but I'm looking for just serviceable out of the special teams in the first season after the greatest kicker you've seen at your school maybe ever. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think, I don't need them to be, I'm not expecting them to be Tyler Loop. That's certainly not the case. I just think that when you're a team like Arizona and your win total sits at 5.5 and it's perfectly basically like an even line essentially as well. It's like minus 105 or minus 110 on the over there, like basically as even odds as you could get. You're going to have to win games on the margins, man. And that comes down a lot of times to your special teams, your field position that you're starting with versus your opponent's starting field position. And are you making your kicks? And if you're not making kicks from the high 30 yards, you're really debilitating your offense and the amount of points that you can put up on the board. So I know Seth Agee is all about scoring touchdowns, and he says that all the time. He's not going out there being like, we're putting 3 points on the board. He's like, we're putting 6 on the board. But yeah, it's not exactly the most encouraging thing.
What was bro's name? Was it Cody Little that just hit that 70-yarder for the Jaguars in the preseason game? Was it him? Was that his name, Cody? I think it was Little for sure.
Yeah,
it might have not been Cody. But the people on Twitter have raised the idea of like, and I'm going to work this into the inverse in a second, right? The confidence that it gives you as a fan, knowing that your team only has to get to about the 50 for your kicker to be able to nail one, right? And I think it goes the opposite for Arizona fans this upcoming year, where until you get out there and see what either Prashan or Salgado Medina has, you have no idea what yardage marker you got to get to be safely within field goal range. And like you alluded to, if we're missing from the high 30s, you're getting pretty deep into enemy territory before you're comfortable with your kicker being able to make a kick. And I think that makes it harder on the offense. It makes it harder on Seth Agee's unit as a whole. So hopefully we can at least make from 45 with some consistency.
Yeah, like that's yeah, I think that's reasonable. That's not like an insanely, long field goal. I don't think that like 50 is necessarily exactly reasonable, but you should be hitting from the lower 40s and in. 100%.
Yes.
And yeah, it would be potentially debilitating in terms of like making a bowl game for this team if that kicking unit is a big problem. So one thing to monitor, one thing to ask Justin Spears about when we get him on the show later in the week. But Kevin, we are going to talk a little bit more about the AP rankings that were released today, and a particular national outlet releasing their own rankings that have Arizona really, really high. So we'll talk about that right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats pod.
That is correct. And one thing I'm going to talk about right now is our friends over at Branded Bills. The most stylish, most comfortable, I just said stylish, but most fashionable headwear in the game. And it's the only way to truly elevate your brand. If you have a brand that you want to customize, we have our Phoenix hats here to rep PHNX through our friends over at Branded Bills. They've helped us put together live events. Branded Bills is their family over here at PHNX. And that's how they treat their customers as well. Because like I said, whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, tees, Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. And if you're in Tucson, Arizona, head down to the University of Arizona campus. You can find them pretty much across all of the campus and all the stores that sell U of A merch, because Branded Bills has that game on lock right now. A local company from here in the Freedom State of Arizona. So make sure to go check out Branded Bills. Head to brandedbills.com and use code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order of the best headwear you will ever own in your life.
Kevin, let's talk a little bit about Gila River Resorts and Casinos, the ultimate staycation spot. If you are here in the great state of Arizona, the Freedom State, if you will, there's nothing like a good trip to a Gila River Resort and Casino. There's 4 locations here in the Valley. We, of course, are impartial to Wild Horse Pass, where they're going to be doing the Straight Game podcast live with Shaq, ever heard of him, on August 16th at Wild Horse Pass. Kevin, you are going to be there for sure. Maybe I will tag along as well. But it's going to be NBA legends Mike Bibby, Eddie House, and Coach Ty Ellis doing their special live recording of the Straight Game podcast with special guest Shaquille O'Neal. All like unprecedented access to some legends there. There's going to be some AMA formats where you can go up and ask some questions. It's going to be an absolutely just a great time out there and get some great insight from some absolute legends of the game, including a Wildcat and Mike Bibby. But that's not all they have at Wild Horse Pass. They got, all the live table games and slots. They got the concert venue. They got the pool area with the cabanas, all types of dining options from low scale to upscale. I mean, it's unbelievable. All types of things they have going on over there at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. It's like having Vegas in your backyard, but you don't got to make that god-awful drive that my parents just made, just brutal, through Kingman and whatnot. I mean, it just sucks, man. So just skip that part of it. Go to Gila River Resorts and Casinos instead. Get your gamble on, play at Gila, and you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos.
I'm excited for that live taping of that podcast, Damon. I am very excited.
If you could ask a question to we'll do Mike Bibby and Shaq, what would you ask him?
Ooh, I would ask Mike Bibby if he would like to come on the AZ Wildcats podcast, the premier Arizona sports podcast.
Even though he's a head coach at another school now. We almost got Damon Stoudemire.
Rules, schmools. That's what I like to say. I'm not worried about no rules or none of that. Just come talk your playing days. You know what I mean? You don't even got to talk about coaching.
Let's talk about 97.
I don't want to talk about nothing.
Let's talk
since we've turned 2000.
Talk about this bad boy right here, brother.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I think that'd be cool. Ask him maybe his favorite memory from his time at Arizona, not obviously that national championship. Shaq. See, Shaq's interesting because it's one of those people that is so famous that you kind of, for the most part, know.
He's insanely famous.
Yeah, but like I feel like he's so famous that you feel like you kind of know Shaq in a way.
Is he the? Let me ask: Is Shaq the third most famous basketball player? Like going. Because it's obviously LeBron and Mike, right? Top two.
Yeah.
Is it Shaq 3 or is it Magic?
Damn.
I think Magic's the other guy. They're kind of like the larger than life personalities, like just an aura about them.
It might be Shaq.
I think it is just because he's in every commercial.
Yao Ming?
Nah.
Just off pure numbers, I feel like population numbers, maybe.
Freaking 6 rebounds per game, Yao Ming at 7-8. No thanks.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to task our Suns guys maybe with helping us out with that after the show.
I feel like Shaq's got to be like third. If you go in like impressions based, like
Mount Rushmore, certainly, right?
Yeah. Chuck's up there too, just because he's like a larger than life personality as well. So that's interesting. It's interesting. You should ask him. Hey, Shaq, my co-host floated to me that he thinks you're the third most famous basketball player alive. How do you feel about that?
Whoa, honestly, first. That's a silly question you'd even propose that I'm not first.
I'm Superman.
You think Superman's anything less than first? Get the hell out of here.
Exactly.
How many rings you got, huh? Huh? I don't even see a wedding ring. You got no rings.
Ring talk. Lost, unfortunately, my state championship high school baseball game.
That's crazy. I didn't mean to bring up bad high school sports memories by talking straight game podcast.
Lost in the semifinals of football as well.
Well, should we talk about more positive stuff then, Damon?
Let's do it.
Because
I mean, I guess this isn't necessarily positive going straight into the AP Top 25 rankings because I got a bone to pick with these people that are
a good song.
That are voting. Kevin, we got 3 teams in the western third of the United States on this list. Between Oregon at 7, Arizona State at 11, and Boise State at 25. Those are your 3 West Coast representatives in a 25-team shortlist of college football polls. Furthermore, if you were to kind of break it down, it's almost entirely Big Ten and SEC schools. There's Clemson there, Notre Dame, Miami, SMU, Kansas State, ASU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech, and Boise State. So that's 9 out of 25 that are not from the 2 major conferences, the 2 super conferences, if you will, and 16 of the 25 coming from those 2 conferences.
The anti-Big 12 bias is out and about right now, Damon. We were looking at this rating, and we're going to look at a Fox rating here in a moment. But
where's Baylor, man?
Where is Baylor? I think K-State is getting a ton of love, and they're going to be good this year.
I feel like that's I'd put like all the money I own on them finishing between 11 and 20. That's what they do every year.
And I just feel like the love that they're getting isn't necessarily fair or founded on much besides Avery Johnson maybe breaking out this year like he was supposed to do last year. You know what I mean? And I don't know. We're going to get to it with the Fox ratings as well, but I just feel like the anti-Big 12 stuff is kind of crazy. You have ASU who I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, we were going to.
I don't really want to cape for them.
Say something nice about ASU.
Yeah, I don't really like to do that, but it feels like if you return however high a percent.
I think 22.
22% of their starters.
No, 22 of 24.
Oh, 22 of 24 starters. Sorry.
I'm sorry. No, they're 20 of 22.
You return starters. A hell of a lot of your starters from last year, and that is a team that made it quite a far way, and then to be out of the top 10 in the next season's preseason poll. Again, I'm not trying to big up ASU, but I think we got to talk about the logistical makeup of this list, right? I feel like if the shoe was on the other foot, Damon, you and I would be absolutely apoplectic that Arizona is not inside the top 10 of the AP preseason poll because of what they did last season.
Arizona was 21st last season, and I think that I felt that was fair. I knew that some people in this fan base definitely were like, that's egregious. We have NFL players. And we did, but it didn't really mean much. I think, given that they have their coach, given that they have their quarterback, I know they lose Cam Scattaboo, but
a top receiver too.
Say something nice about ASU. I feel like that if that was an SEC or a Big Ten school that returned 20 of 22 starters and their quarterback and their head coach was returning, there's about a 0% chance they wouldn't be top 5 after making the college football playoff. And you look at the other teams receiving votes, BYU, Utah, Baylor are the 3 leading teams that were other receiving votes. So that's 3 more Big 12 teams out of the 4 that made it. That now, like, if say all 3 of those teams made it, and now you have 7 of 16 Big 12 teams. That's actually a really decent percentage of your teams being in the top 25. I'm not saying that that's realistic or necessarily, but I don't know, man. Like, I think, obviously a lot of these schools are going to have good years. I'm not saying that, like, I expect them to necessarily be bad, but the teams that are, like, ahead of some of these, like a Baylor, for example, like, I don't necessarily, like, Illinois, 11, they're 12th. Like, I know Brett Bielema has a good thing going over there, and they return some players as well. I know people like their quarterback. That seems really high. South Carolina, 13th in the SEC with that schedule. No chance they here. That's the thing, Kevin. These schools literally cannot finish this high because they have to play each other.
Yeah, they have to eat each other alive.
Yeah, so, like, when Tennessee beats South Carolina, you know what I mean? Like, that drops South Carolina's ranking because now they're 7-5 and maybe they have a lot of talent, but that's not how rankings work, nor should they. You have to actually win football games, Michigan, 14th, new quarterback, true freshman, could be an absolute stud. Lost a ton of players to the NFL. Sherrone Moore did not do a good job in year 1. 14th? Like, I could pick apart a lot of these teams. I feel like when you start going after the top 10, I feel like the top 10 is fairly solidified. But I don't know, man. Like, when was the last time Florida was good? They're 15th.
Lots of stock there in DJ Lagway.
Was Tim Tebow their quarterback when Florida was last good? Texas A&M, that's 7-5 University. That's 8-4 University. When it was August 4th, people were saying Happy Texas A&M Day, Kevin.
That's crazy.
On the timeline.
That's crazy.
If you go 8-4, you're probably not 19th, unless it's just an SEC bias thing where they put you 19th. Indiana. We think Indiana's going to do what they did last season? Good luck with that. That's not happening. Sorry to burst that bubble. Ole Miss lost everybody to the NFL. Every single player on their team to the NFL. Like, Ole Miss had, like, the second most players drafted, I want to say, of any school. I'm not saying that they're not going to be talented, but it's just impossible for all of these schools to be good at the same time. Tennessee, Nico Iamaleava left their program in the spring. And now they're like BYU, where they're kind of scrambling for a quarterback still. You don't feel comfortable about that situation, and they're ranked? That's wild to me. And it's the same thing with BYU, who was basically 26th. They got the next most votes. Even though I'm saying, like, the Big 12 people are kind of getting screwed here, BYU shouldn't be that high. Yeah. They don't have a quarterback. Yeah. They're going to start a true freshman who no one has ever seen. And it's like, these rankings, it's like this every year. It's why people always talk about getting rid of them. They're fun talking points, but essentially it's just a SEC and Big Ten drool fest of just like, this team's really good on paper, and their college football 26 rating is really high, so they must be good. But like Boise State, they win the Mountain West last year. They make the college football playoff. They bring back their quarterback, their coach. They're 25th. I'd say there's about a 0% chance that they finish that low. Boise State's going to run through the Mountain West this year and finish, because that's what happens when you run through a conference like that. You're going to be a top 15, top 20 team. But I don't know. That's my bone I had to pick. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I love it. I love when we get Damon ready to fight on a Monday afternoon. That is ideal Damon dog in rare form. I think that when we talk about the AP poll, right, in relation to Arizona, obviously we have no business being anywhere near this AP poll this time of year right now, but we will have business being on the other poll that we're going to look at on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. It's the AZ Wildcats podcast. Our friends over at Circle K, it's America's thirst stop. It is the only place to get your gas to get your snacks, to get your fuel for your body. That includes water, energy drinks, alcohol, whatever your fancy is. Circle K is America's thirst stop. And I love being a member of the Inner Circle because when my first 5 fill-ups hit, I got 25 cents off per gallon. And then every fill-up after that, I got 3 cents off per gallon. And then every fill-up after I graduated into the inner circle, I get 5 cents off per gallon now because I am an elite member of the Inner Circle. And you could be like me, like Damon, like Erica, like pretty much everybody at PHNX and save when you join the Inner Circle today. They have all types of specials. They have, Circle K fuel days where you can get up to 50 cents off per gallon, which is unbelievable in this economy. So shout out to Circle K for saving us some money. And you can join that Inner Circle for free today by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions at participating locations do apply. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
Kevin, I was just in the Old Pueblo this weekend, made my way up last night, and had to stop at Circle K, take advantage of some of those beautiful gas prices that you see down in southern Arizona. But also, got to talk about our friends at Empire today because, guys, if you need some new flooring, there is no one else to call. We talk about it here, obviously, in Arizona. You can get Empire Today flooring, but you could really do it anywhere in the country. It doesn't have to just be in Arizona. Here's why Empire Today is the only choice to make when getting your brand new flooring, because the alternative, Kevin, of going to like some big box store is just the absolute worst, right? There's endless aisles, people trying to just swipe your card without any rhyme or reason or getting you into the flooring that's a perfect fit. You got to find your own installer. You got to lug it back home. The whole process is brutal. Empire Today takes the middleman out of all of that. They handle all of that for you, and they are the experts in flooring. Thousands of styles, carpet, tile, hardwood, you name it, man. Empire Today has you locked and loaded with all of the best options, and you can get $350 off with our promo code of PHNX if you buy your new flooring today with Empire Today. So get in on that. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. PHNX listeners can receive a $350 discount when using that promo code of PHNX. And yes, guys, you heard that right. $350 off with discount code PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/PHNX for full details.
And like I alluded to before our final ad break of today, we do have this poll, which is RJ Young's of Fox College Football's ultimate 136 college football rankings. And as you can see, Arizona comes in at 38, Damon. At 38 of 136 teams. Texas comes in at number 1. Where we at there? Arizona State coming in. Where are they at? 23, which is interesting. Texas Tech at 22.
Kevin, speaking of, this might have been on the D-back show, but objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. ASU fans, you better hope this isn't right. 23 to 38, closer than they appear, Kevin.
And if you're an ASU fan, you must be looking at this like you thought 11 was disrespectful. Try 23. Try being just on the edge of the top 25. Damon, speaking of just the top 25, right before we get to Arizona, what are some teams on this list that you want to talk about in that top 25?
Before we get to Arizona?
Yeah.
And you said in the top 25?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, we kind of just broke down. It's pretty much all the same teams that we just talked about, except it's even more SEC bias and Big Ten bias involved. Like, SMU, ASU kind of at the tail end with Texas Tech. Indiana even higher. That's criminal. Mizzou, they added Mizzou in there.
Yeah. I don't like that one.
I don't know about that. Colorado, right?
At 25.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I think Colorado could actually be a decent team this year. They
could be. We'll see how the 2 quarterback thing goes.
I don't know if they'll be ranked, but I think that they could have like a good 8-win season. I don't know that gets you ranked in the Big 12, though. I think you have to have 9 wins to be ranked in the Big 12 because that's clearly what the voters and pundits are showing you.
Yeah, no, and getting to the Arizona side of things now, Damon, you see down there at 38.
Houston at 31.
Kind of crazy, right?
Does this guy know football at all?
All right, so let's just break down the Big 12 teams in order here on this graphic. You have, breaking down, K-State at number 19. You have Texas Tech at 22, Arizona State at 23, Colorado at 25, Iowa State at 28, Houston at 31, Kansas at 33, Arizona at 38, TCU 41, Baylor 44. What are we doing with Baylor all the way at 44?
Yeah, Baylor's getting disrespected in these rankings, man. Baylor is going to be a lot better than that. They were my pick to win the Big 12. And if they finish as the 44th best team in the country as after I picked them to win the Big 12, that would be insane. But that would be very Big 12, wouldn't it? Because that's how the conference went in 2024, and it just made no sense. So this is interesting, man. This is really kind of trippy to look at. You got Washington at 49. Arizona lapped Jed Fish. Eat it, buddy.
Who's the lowest ranked Big 12 team? Is it West Virginia at 68?
Yeah, that would be my guess because they're UCF at 74. Those are pretty much the two teams that are considered to be the worst, I would say.
Oklahoma State at 59 above BYU. Woof, dude.
That is crazy. And
woof.
I think, BYU, like, that's probably too far in the opposite direction, right?
I'm with you.
I think they still have a great defense, really good weapons, good head coach. I don't think they should be top 25, but I don't think they should be 60th. So this is interesting. I don't know how much stock to really put in this. Happy to see Arizona getting some love, maybe, kind of changing some minds about what's going on in our football program. But at the same time, it does kind of feel like this guy was just kind of throwing shots in the dark and was just like, I don't know, Arizona 38.
God loves a trier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And RJ Young tried to make a ratings, and he did. He did it. And I love that for him because we got to talk about it today at the end of our show, Damon.
Shout out RJ Young.
Yeah, shout out to RJ Young because
you tried.
You know who?
Rub his head a little bit.
You know who didn't make a 136 rankings? Me. So I'm criticizing RJ Young, and I haven't even tried it myself. I know for a fact it would look a lot different than RJ Young's. Maybe I should do that. Maybe we should do that for our podcast on social media. Who knows? Who knows?
Maybe we tier rank.
We'd be here for hours, but that's
we
just
could
do
what
we love
like
to do.
Just the power schools, and then just be like, like championship contenders, playoff contenders, conference title contenders. You know what I mean? Like split them up into tiers like that, and I feel like we could kind of rapid fire it a little bit more.
So you don't want to get into the weeds about is UMass Amherst better than Kent State? Because I think we could have a whole podcast about that.
Who knows? Just a wealth of knowledge. I got that in my bag. I just don't want to show it to people.
Can you believe the disrespect? Stephen Prejean Gardner, shout out to him. QB1, PG1 on the Erica's whole thing that she says on Mercury. If you really watch, he asked you the question of, do you follow college football nationally as well? Have you met Damon Dog? He it's in his bag. Talking Kent State, talking UMass Amherst, talking Temple, talking
what do you want
Charlotte,
to know?
talking
what
Kennesaw.
Do you want to know? You want to know about their scheme? I got you. Just on another day. Not right now. But let me
go home and
that's
maybe
in the bag. It's just I just don't want to bring it out right now. So don't stop asking questions about it. But Kevin, that's going to do it for us today. We received some news about Cameron Williams and his visit being scheduled to Arizona. We're going to dive into that heavy tomorrow on the AZ Wildcats podcast at 2 p.m. So make sure that you guys are there for that. But until then, that's going to do it for now. Like this video if you haven't done so already, and subscribe to the channel. Helps us out so much. Be on the lookout for all types of shorts and other content that we got dropping on our YouTube channel at all times. Great shorts being done by myself, by Kevin, by some of our interns that we have here at PHNX Sports all the time on our channel. So, keep on the lookout for those. You can follow my guy Kevin at KevoPost. That's KEVOPOSTS. You can follow me at Damon Dog. That's DAWG on the end of that. And you can follow us at PHNX_Wildcats on our socials, including Instagram, which we are growing as the day grows long, Kevin, trying to get as many Instagram followers as possible and posting tons of that short content on Instagram as well. So if you're maybe not as much of a YouTube Shorts person, but you like using Instagram Reels or TikTok or something like that instead, we got all those platforms cooking with all of our Shorts and TikToks. So keep on the lookout for those. We'll be back on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. But until then, peace out, bear down.
And go Cats, happy Monday!
We all silly like the mayor.